Hey, welcome back to the Roommate Experience. It's been a little bit. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And, we said we'd try to do it like bi-weekly.
Mm-hmm.
We did record episode 3 and 4, and like kind of 5 before.
Yeah.
But with the new setup, we're still trying to fine-tune everything. So there was really bad echoing, and we didn't want to put it out because it was painful to listen to.
Oh, yeah. It was so painful during editing, and it's like, we don't want to put you through that.
So we didn't.
Good. Yeah.
So we're basically re-recording that, and hopefully it works this time. If not, I'm going to be very upset.
Yes.
And you're never going to hear this, but if you're hearing it, it worked.
Yes, let's hope, pray.
Yeah.
Well, so the story we were going to talk about that we talked about last time we recorded this was our trip to Washington. Because our trip to Washington, we saw a lot, we did a lot, and there's a lot of stupid, funny stories from that trip.
I would say that trip, we were talking about this like a minute ago, and I think Ryan put it best was we were unhinged that trip. And I think it's pretty accurate in the amount of stories and all the dumb stuff we did.
Literally from like the moment we touched down, it's just unhingedness. Just, it was fun. We'll get to it. We'll get into it.
Yeah. So we went back in, was it end of September, right?
End of September. It was like the first week of October, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So we leave Friday night, like after work. You got like a 6 o'clock flight or something. Get to Seattle. It's like 8 or 9 o'clock. And I was the one who rented the car. And I put under, or when I was renting it, I found a code that gives you just a massive discount on it.
Like massive discount.
Yeah, but it's a company code. And I'm like, well, I don't want to pay like triple the price to not use this. So I went through full committed that I worked for this company. Business cards, everything's made. I was ready because when I was reserving it, they're like, hey, we got to confirm that you work for this company when you go pick the car up. I'm like, oh, cool. That's what I want to hear. So I was stressing out the entire time leading up to this, assuming that someone was going to ask me like, hey, do you have like proof that you work for them? So prior to that, I got business cards made. That should do the trick, you'd hope. We show up and I walk up to the counter and the guy's like, oh, like ID and everything. He's looking at all my stuff and he's like, oh, you're a preferred member. You don't even have to come up here. And I'm like, oh. It said on the app I had to. And he's like, no, you're good. You can go downstairs. Go downstairs. We just give my ID to the dude. And he's like, oh, okay, your car is in this lot. Didn't need to do any of that stuff. Their website was lying to me.
Well, and you're a preferred member because you worked for that business. Yeah,
it was stupid. But after that moment, like all the stress of everything leading up to it, it's gone. It's the best feeling in the world. And I'm like, oh, I'm on vacation now. Let's go.
Wait, so what's the business you worked for?
I don't know. I'm not gonna say.
That's true.
Who knows?
Yeah, you didn't hear this from us.
All I gotta say is I work there.
You're a ghost worker who gets the benefits of working there.
I just work remote.
You work remote.
That's literally it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so my company has sick benefits. I love it. But we get there, and by the time we get to the rental car and all that stuff,
it's so late.
I think local time, it's probably like 10, 11 o'clock.
Oh, but for us, going from Michigan over there, we'd like 3-hour difference, I think.
Yeah.
So it was like 10 o'clock there, but 1 a.m. our time.
Yeah.
And we still had a long drive to make it to our first spot, which was in the North Cascades.
Yeah. We still had like a 3.5-hour drive. So we get in the van, which, this van went through
some shit.
I'm going to say like through the loops.
Dude, we just like, this van was not made for off-roading, but we had to take it off-roading for the hiking trips we were doing on this trip.
Yeah, no, this van had like, I think it was basically brand new. We were probably like the second or first people to drive it.
Yeah.
Had maybe 100 miles on it.
We put a lot more.
And yeah, that van's not new anymore. You can say that.
And we designated it the niche name Pam the Man Van.
Yeah.
Because she
was a trooper.
She was a trooper. We bonded her out a couple times. Massive potholes. Just, But she stuck through it.
Yeah.
She stuck through it.
So priority number one when we were driving, we had like a 3.5 hour drive to North Cascades.
Yep.
And we were like, oh, the place we were staying at had like a full kitchen and everything. So we could at least cook in the morning and get some food going.
Yeah, so stopping for food, right?
Yeah. And part of the plan too was on certain hikes we could bring lunch to and like eat along the way. Just so we didn't have to worry about getting back out of the trailhead and trying to find food, especially in the middle of nowhere. So we go to a grocery store up there. It's like a Safeway or something.
Yes, right? Yeah, Safeway. I think.
Go to this grocery store, load up the cart with food, and getting like bread and turkey and cheese and stuff for sandwiches. All this stuff for breakfast, and we're like, oh, let's get beer too.
Yep.
So we get beer, get a case of beer. It's local beer.
Rainier's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Look cool. We're like, oh, this is something we can't get back in Michigan, so we get it. We're all tired.
Like, because at this point, it's maybe midnight their time or 11 p.m. their time.
Yeah,
right?
it's close to midnight. So we're loading the van up. We have like all of our suitcases and everything in the back, and we're sitting 5 deep too. So it's a pretty loaded van already. Loading everything in, and I take the cart, put the cart in the cart corral, get in the van, get going. We still have like a 2-hour drive to the place we're staying at, and about 10 minutes from getting to like the house thing we're at, I think, I don't remember anyone putting the beer in the car. We roll up, and the place we're staying at, it's like, they call it a resort.
They call it a resort. We were just in like a...
it was a double wide trailer.
It was double wide trailer, yeah.
Which was actually sick because there was so much space.
Oh, it was awesome.
Unloading the car, getting all of our stuff inside. I'm looking. I don't see the beer.
And then we literally turned the van upside down trying to find this one case of beer we bought for this like little stretch of the trip. And I think, or we came to the conclusion that we're all exhausted, and we took it out of the cart, and I think we just set it outside the van. Like, we didn't even put it in the van. We just set it on the ground. So there was like a lonely case of Rainier in this empty parking lot.
And I think it's even better because there were people like kind of just hanging out in the parking lot. Looked like, I don't know, looked like younger people, probably like 20s or something. They see us drive away, and there's just a free case of beer there. So I'm hoping that they just took it, and it just didn't sit in the parking lot.
Oh, I'm sure someone took it.
I hope so.
I that was the first thing that kind of happened on the trip. That's how you know the trip was. It was an omen for what's going to happen on this trip, I guess. Immediately losing a case of beer.
I'd say it set the pace for the trip pretty well. I don't know. By the time we got to the place, like I was kind of upset that we didn't have the beer, but I was also tired and didn't want to deal with it. So it's like I'm cashing out.
Because it was like, I think 3 a.m. their time. So like 6 a.m. our time or something like that.
Yeah.
It was, that was the rough part. That was definitely rough.
And going into this trip, I was thinking that like, oh, we'll be like, let's just not adjust to their time. Mm-hmm. And like, then we can just get up really early and be fine with it. That immediately went out the window.
Well, because we immediately adjusted their time because we were up so late the first night.
Yeah. So then next day we go and we're doing this hike, driving down this gravel road. It's throwing the van all over the place, bottoming it out. And I was like death gripping the wheel, scared for my life, kind of. I didn't think we were fine, but I was like, I don't want to get stuck out here or see a car coming back this way because there's a cliff on the side of the van.
Yeah. The drives were intense.
Yeah. So we're on our way to this hike, and we pull off to this, like, it wasn't even like a legit pull off, but we pull off to this like lookout.
It like the waterfall or like the river or whatever, right? With all the rocks.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think with this, we're probably going to throw a lot of pictures in just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, and because we have pictures.
Yeah.
So we pull off. We're all like running around taking pictures and everything. Super cool. Get back in the van. We have, I don't even know, maybe like a mile and a half up the road to go. And we get up there, pull off, park, and then we have to hike a little bit up to the actual like trailhead.
It was like a quarter mile, but it was
Yeah,
the roughest quarter mile of my life.
It was harder than the actual hike.
Yeah.
Because how steep it was. You get to the top, right at the trailhead, and we're waiting around. And Bailey goes, "Where's my phone?"
Oh, yeah. Bailey's one of the buddies that was on the trip with us.
Yeah.
Well, one of the few. But yeah. Continue.
You see him like patting around, and he's like frantically searching through his backpack. Doesn't have it. And in my head, I'm like, "You gotta be kidding. There's no way." He's scrambling, and he's like, "Guess I'm gonna go back to the car." And we're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Can't find my phone." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we basically come up with a plan that 4 of us are gonna go do the hike, and then he's gonna go check the car, and if it's not the car, then he's going back to the lookout that we were just at.
Because maybe it fell out of his pocket or
Yeah.
something there.
So we split off. We're doing the hike and get to the top. Beautiful. Crazy views. Insert picture here. And then on our way back down, like halfway down, we actually see Bailey like meet back up with him. We're like, "Did you find it?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got it. It was where I thought it was." And he's like, "Oh, okay, good." Luckily, like, because if he lost it, that would have been an even worse.
Horrible start. On first day, lose your phone. I mean, because it like when we were getting into the van at that one lookout spot, his phone just slid out of his pocket.
Yeah. So don't trust gym shorts with
Yeah.
your phone, especially if they're shallow.
Yep.
Yeah. So be careful.
At least it was still there. At least the phone was still there.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have been if it was an actual lookout and people stopped, but
Yeah.
he got lucky.
He really did.
Yeah, I was like, oh, jeez, that's such a rough start.
It's because we were in the middle of nowhere too. So it's like you lose your phone. It's not like we're in Seattle where you can go to the store, get a new one, and then at least you have a phone if you got to talk to people.
That's true.
So that was a big scare at the beginning. After the beer happened already, and we're like, what is going on?
It's like, that's strike 2. I'm not looking forward to strike 3. And like pretty much that day, like we just went back after the hike and everything, saw the views. North Cascades, beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
I'd say it's very underrated, and I would like if it stayed that way, where it's kind of underrated.
So I just like to just fast forward through the day a little bit.
I didn't know what we got to do. So after that, like Ryan was saying, we kind of just chilled out for the rest of the day. Because that hike, I don't know, it took us like 4 hours or something, round trip.
It's not bad.
No. And one of our buddies from college actually moved out. He was about like an hour away from where we were staying.
Mm-hmm.
So he drove over that night. He's like, "Well, how many people are going to be out here?" So I was like, "I'll make the trip over." So came out to see us and kind of hung out and drank and chilled, stayed up way too late.
Oh, another late night for it didn't need to be that late. What was funny too, as actually like at the place we were staying, this resort, at the owner's house, I guess.
Yeah, basically.
Like there's like we read there was a bar here at this like resort in quotations, and it turned out to just be in the owner's house basement. So we went down in the basement. It was actually kind of cool. They had like kegs and like tabs and everything. Oh, I thought it was kind of funny. Of like, literally, they just turned their basement into a bar, and just we were the only people there.
Yeah, it was super random.
Yeah,
But so the next day our plan was to go do a hike with our buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So we met up with him the next morning and at this random park. So it's called Silo Park.
And I think the city was Concrete. Wasn't
Yeah.
like the name of the town Concrete?
Yep. Because I think they produce or
everything's made out of concrete because the city burnt down twice.
yep.
I think that's literally
what
the
it was.
reason.
So I met up with this park, and I have a really random video because I thought this park was really funny. And he brings his dog, and we're like, "Oh, cool!" And he had a backpack that fit his dog. So he was carrying like a 40-pound dog at least with him for a majority of the hike.
I'll say it was very adorable with the dog just sitting on his like back.
That dog was a trooper. It was crazy. But the hike we did was gorgeous. Went to see the overlook and
I think it's Park Butte.
Yep.
Park Butte was that hike, and it was worth it. Oh, that was one of my favorite hikes.
it was awesome. And so after that, we were like, oh, like, well, we should probably get food because we're all hungry. And we go to this random sports bar and we're getting food eating. And we had to make a ferry across to the next place we were going. And they had like 7 o'clock and I think a 9 o'clock ferry. We're like, yeah, we'll try and make the 7 o'clock because I don't want to wait that long because we still have like an hour and a half drive after that.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, it was probably like an hour drive to the ferry or like 45 minutes. Ryan looks down at his phone. I didn't realize what the time was. He goes, hey, it's like 6:15. Like we got to go.
Because it was like 7:30 it left, right? Or like we had like a little over an hour. Like if we left now, we'd be just slightly early. But we had to cash out. We had to do everything still.
Yeah. So we cash out, get everything, get going. And like the time that the ferry leaves is the time that we're supposed to arrive. And we're like, I don't know if we're going to make it. I don't want to sit there for like an hour and a half waiting for the
our
ferry.
ETA was like 1 minute after
Yeah.
it was supposed or 1 minute before it was leaving. Something like that. It was insane for time-wise.
So we were absolutely ripping it through these roads as fast as we could go legally. And we're like a mile away. And there's this old Mini Cooper ahead of us going 5 under.
Dude, it was the most infuriating thing.
We were like, okay, what? Why are you going so slow? Passing lane opens up, gun it past them. We're flying. We get there and we made a reservation for the 9 o'clock because you're supposed to, but we were talking to the guy who was doing the ticketing. He goes, you guys want to get on this ferry, right? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, okay, cool. Get in this line. We're like, oh, it's that easy?
Awesome. We don't have to wait 2
Yeah.
extra hours.
And I think it was right when they started to load up cars. So like a couple of the rows started to move, but we get in the line, we're waiting, and there's one more car that rolls up.
What the last car allowed?
It's a freaking Mini Cooper.
It's a Mini Cooper. Dude, why were they not going? They must be locals and they know. They must know of like, hey, we're not to speed because like we're doing 5 under. We can make it.
It's fine. We're just going for a stroll. They get on and they're the car like right behind us, and I just see Josh looking in the rearview mirror, just staring him down.
Like giving the death eye.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know if I get out, they're gonna say something to me, like yell at me or something. I'm like, dude, it's fine, whatever. But we made it. Was way more chaotic than it should have been.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. So then next day
Then we're in Port Angeles.
We basically just drive and get to the hotel. And what do we even do in Port Angeles?
Port
We went
Angeles,
to Olympic area.
we were there for 2 nights. Yeah, 2 nights. And the first day we just did the first full day, I think we did Storm King, right?
I thought that was
No, the second day.
second.
The second day we did the Cascade waterfall with the salmon lookout thing. The salmon jumping.
I thought we did that. No, we did that the first day.
Oh, we did that the first day.
It
Sorry,
was the other way around.
it's a few months ago. Like 3
Yeah,
months
it's a
ago.
little
I'm
bit
trying
ago.
to remember the exact days.
But I'm just gonna jump to Storm King.
Yeah, I
So,
think Storm King is like the standout.
We go and we're like, the first day we went and like talked to the park rangers and stuff. And we're like, oh, like, do you have recommendations for certain hikes or anything like that? And they're like, oh, like you can go X, Y, and Z and do this. And they're like, oh, but like another good one is Storm King.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh, like, in everything I was looking up, like I never heard of it.
And one thing I feel that's crazy too is there's 2 points before this that different people recommended Storm King to us. It was when we checked in at the Super 8 hotel. The lady at the front desk recommended that hike. And when we were filling up gas the next morning, some lady, random lady, super nice, walked up to our car and just started talking to us and recommended that hike to us too. We're like, okay, we have to do it now.
It was like on our way there, and she's like, we were like, oh, that's like, we're gonna go do that. And she's like, oh, it's so worth it. And we're like, sweet, okay.
And she's like, I can't do that anymore because I'm too old, but you guys should be able to do it.
Yeah.
Apparently it's one of the hardest ones.
Yeah. So this one, it's like 2.5 miles up.
So not far.
It's 2,100 feet.
Game.
Yeah.
It is game. Like up like the entire way.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. No, it's a bit of a killer, but we're doing it, and there's so many people that we saw, but when we get to the top, there's nobody there.
Exactly.
And we're like, oh, this is sick. There's no one else here. But there's a point where like the trail, quote unquote, ends.
And it's like towards the top where it gets rockier and everything.
And they say like, oh, this is like the end of the maintain trail.
Mm-hmm.
But you can keep going further. And you get to the section where it's so steep and the sand and gravel and everything's so loose. They have ropes tied off so that people don't go sliding off the edge of this mountain. So we're doing it, and legitimately like every 2 or 3 steps, you're sliding back still. I'm like,
yeah, and it's like
stupid.
Literally you're death gripping the rope.
Yeah.
Praying to God that it's like if I let go and I slide down, I am dying.
Yeah.
Like that rope is your life. It was kind of crazy. Like I was a little nervous doing it. Like my legs were shaking a little bit, and it's like, oh fuck.
I remember there was a huge pile of like gloves that you could use so you didn't like get rope burn or anything. And I grab a pair of gloves, shove them in my pocket, and we get to the ropes like 100 feet up, and go touch my pocket, and they fell out already. And I'm like, oh, whatever, it is what it is. So we get to the top. There's no one else up there, so we were kind of like hanging around for, I don't know, probably sat up there for like a half hour.
But it was beautiful. The view.
Oh, it was awesome.
Oh, I think that was like the coolest or best view in my opinion.
Yeah, and that spot is probably like the best cell reception I had the entire trip.
That is true. I was able
full bars.
I think I had like 3 or full bars. Like
yeah.
It was insane. Because also we're kind of like in the middle of nowhere a little bit too. Like, cause I'll throw like a photo or video up here for people to see what it's like up there. But that was, I think, my favorite hike. Even though it sucked so bad going up, yeah. I was like, we went down super fast.
Oh, we did.
We cruised.
I think it took us like 45 minutes to go down.
Yeah, I think in like, 2.5 hours to go up?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun hike, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And then there's like a little, there's like a half-mile hike further on that you could go to see this like waterfall. And in my head, I'm like, okay, it's a waterfall. It doesn't, I think I saw pictures of it, and I'm like, I've seen better.
But we did go to it. This was like half mile.
And Josh is like, yeah, we should go to this. And I'm like, we just climbed a mountain, dude. I don't.
We literally just climbed a mountain. And
so we end up seeing it. It's kind of a mid waterfall.
It was big. It was tall.
Yeah. There was a huge branch hanging over the edge.
Yeah, that was kind of
sketchy. I swear I could see it like moving up and down a little bit.
And there's people
a bunch of people at the bottom just standing there.
Yeah.
So I left and I was a little concerned, but I think it was fine.
I hope so. We didn't see anything in the news, so I'm assuming nothing bad happened.
Yeah. Made our way over to, I don't remember the name of this town. It was like, it's where Twilight was filmed.
Oh, Forks. Yeah, we stayed where Twilight was filmed.
Yeah.
Team Jacob, because I don't remember the other name.
Edward.
No, I'm probably more Team Edward. Even though I forgot his name.
I don't care.
I don't care either. I don't know what it means, but it means something to someone.
I think I'd lean more Jacob because he turns into a dog.
Oh, is Jacob the werewolf?
Yeah,
Edward is the
vampire
emo vampire.
Yeah. Cool. So we're in Forks, and this like motel we were staying at. So with 5 people, we could squeeze everyone into one room.
Like before other places we've been able to squeeze.
Yeah, because there's like space between the beds or like a little couch area that we can throw like a little blow up mattress on.
Yeah, we brought a blow up hiking mattress because we knew we're gonna sleep two people each in a bed and one person on the ground, and we just rotate.
Yeah, so going into it, we were like, okay, whatever. This place in Forks we stayed at was the smallest room we had the entire trip. There was barely enough space to put someone on the ground between
the beds. And that was me. That was me.
You're on the ground.
In the ground was concrete and cold and uncomfortable. And I think I had like this much room. I probably had like less than a foot width.
Yeah.
And I was just running into the beds back and forth during the night. It was so uncomfortable.
I was very concerned that I would wake up and step on you.
Yeah, I was concerned about that too. Like this room was like, I swear, 10 foot by 10 foot. It was
tiny.
And it was not that cheap. I don't remember being that cheap.
Not at all.
It was definitely, out of all the hotel rooms we stayed at, that was the worst. And I got the most unlucky with, hey, this will be the night I'll sleep on the ground.
Yeah. The entire trip, I did not sleep on the ground.
Lucky?
Yeah. Well, the way I skewed it in my head was, hey, I'm the one who planned this.
I sleep on the ground. That's fair.
So we went and saw, like, one of the big things is like the Washington beaches and everything. Super cool. That was like the only time we saw rain, kind of, because it's like misty.
Yeah,
there's like the fog that rolls in,
but the beach was really cool.
Yeah, the beach itself was awesome.
I'll look up the name while you talk of that place.
Shoot, yeah, I'm trying to remember the name, but whatever. So we went, saw the beach, and then did a couple other hikes like on other beaches. It was awesome, super cool looking, and we kept making our way down the coast. There's this part in Olympic, because Olympic's like a giant area of like the peninsula in Washington. And did you find the name?
Yeah, it's La Push.
Oh, it's Rialto.
Rialto? Yeah, Rialto Beach. Yeah, but it's like in La Push.
Yeah,
small town.
La Push. It's like French for the push.
The push.
La Push. Or Spanish.
That'd be French. La
Push.
Is it?
Spanish is like L and La.
Oh, it is? Yeah. Okay, yeah, I do not know. The more you know.
It's German.
Yeah. Nine.
But we go and we're driving down the coast, and part of Olympic, whatever. There's the Hoh River Trail. Mm-hmm. And I talked to people at work and stuff, people that have been out there, and a bunch of people recommended it. And
it's like one of like the quote unquote best hikes in the world. People say it's one of the best in the world.
So I'll say our part, but then there's something I read and saw. But we go and do this like loop of it, and it's kind of cool because you see like the moss and everything. But it was super sunny, and did I say the Hoh River Trail?
Yeah, Hoh River Trail.
It was the Hoh Rainforest.
Oh, Hoh Rainforest.
I think so. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I might be mixing stuff up, but it's the rainforest one. So it's supposed to be like super temperate climate.
It's very crowded too. Out of all the hikes we did,
that was the busiest parking lot we saw. Like we barely
found a spot. We actually had to park on the road on the way out.
Yeah,
because there's no spots left.
Do this loop thing, cool. I don't know. It was a hike. It was us getting out of the car for a little bit, and we saw better moss and like had better experience with what we expected it to be like when we were over by like Soul Duck Falls, because there's like a huge loop that they have. Yeah. And it's like Lover's Lane to something to Soul Duck back down.
That was a really cool hike. Not much elevation. It was very flat, but it was enjoyable. Because there was also like no one out there for that.
Yeah, we didn't see anyone really. We saw like 1 or 2 random people, and that was it. But there are a lot of cool waterfalls on that trail. But with the rainforest one, I feel like it threw us off because we were expecting it to be rainy, or at least like something like that.
Yeah.
But it was just sunny, which I'm not going to complain about it being really nice out, because
we got lucky with the weather when we were there too. Yeah. Every day was clear skies. Every day was clear skies. No rain, sun. And it was, I think, record high temperatures too when we were there.
Yeah, for that time of the year. And I don't know. The hike wasn't great. But I did read and like see that the part that we did wasn't the one that's like the best hike. Because do you remember there's that fork that we got
Well, it's
to?
like, hey, you can go this way for 20 miles, right?
It's like 100-something miles long, I think.
Oh, it is?
I remember far.
I remember it's like seeing a thing that says, oh, if you go this way, you're going to be out for like at least 4 days.
Yeah, it's that part. So,
and I think it goes up the mountain too, like into like the snow.
Yeah.
Climate
it's like a legit overnighter full-on hike.
Which we didn't do any of those. Ours were always just day hikes.
Yeah. So that's like the top rated one. That's
not the one that we did.
Yeah, not the one we did.
The one we did was like kind of shitty.
Yeah.
It was the most letdown hike we did to date.
For sure.
Probably for the whole trip, honestly.
Yeah. And I don't know. If we were to do that, at least like a portion of it, like out and back a couple miles, could have been worth it. Who knows? Look it up online. We didn't do it.
Yeah. But we did a lot of other good stuff.
Oh, yeah. So when we were planning this, there were people saying like, oh, you got to see like the Tree of Life. And it was something I heard, and I'm like, oh, okay. We kept searching like different beaches, and I'm like, I don't remember what beach it was. And I didn't have cell service.
I think I did, right?
Yeah, but it was really slow.
It was super slow. Holy crap.
So every beach that we stopped at, or every beach along the coast, we kept stopping at to see if it was there. And we finally figured out which one, because we talked to someone, and they're like, oh, no, it's not this one, but it's the one that's after this. We're like, oh, sick. Okay, cool. Yeah. And we're talking to them, and they're like, oh, did you guys see the dead whale? And we're like, no. What do you mean? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, see that dot over there? It's a dead whale.
Like literally a dead beached whale.
Yeah. We're like, oh, cool. Someone looked at it, and I think I poked it.
Boy, when I say that thing smelled, that thing, whew, it reeked, dude. Holy crap.
It was bad.
I don't think I've smelled anything so bad in my life. Literally. But the thing that, like, I'll also show a picture of that too. It was like a calf. It was a baby whale. Yeah. It was not like a massive whale. It was just a little thing. But
still big.
It was so bloated. Like you should see it was ready to explode. Because don't whales, when they get beached through decomposition, like they explode?
I think so.
Like when they reach that certain point, and that thing was about to explode.
Yeah, there was a couple that had their dog with them. Mm-hmm. And I see the dog running up, and I'm like, I kind of want the dog to like take a bite or like poke it with its claw or something. So I slowly started to back away as the dog got closer, just in case he poked it and exploded.
But still watched it just in case so you could see it.
But you didn't do that, unfortunately, and I was kind of sad and disappointed.
Yeah, I know. It was. I feel it was kind of sad to see the calf die like that, but it was really interesting to actually witness.
I don't know how it died.
Probably just the tides, right?
It probably was that, or if it died in the water and then she got washed up.
Well, so if it died in the water, I think it was fairly fresh, right? I think it was like maybe a couple days being there. Yeah. But it's not like it got killed by an orca or something like that, because it was no chunks were out of it. So it's, I don't know. I don't feel like whales just don't just like die.
Got poisoned as a part of a coup.
part of
whale
a
coup.
whale coup within
Yeah.
the whale society.
Yeah, that whale was like the prince to be,
Mm.
or he was a prince, and then he was gonna take the throne. But
Do you think they have
Probably
like
with the whale.
castles underwater that
yeah,
the
Atlantis.
whales? Is it kind of like things like Aquaman, but just with whales?
Yeah, it's way cooler.
Do they have tridents too?
No,
Oh, that kind of sucks. That'd be cool if they had one.
they banned him after the second war.
Oh, after the second whale war.
Yeah, it's kind of like was it like Napalm? Is it Napalm banned from like war
Well, I
years?
think it's the what's the
Agent
thing?
Orange.
Well, no. What's the thing that's like, oh, the world decided you can't do this in war?
The
What's-
Geneva Convention.
Geneva Convention, right? Is that
I
what
think
it is?
so.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, you can't do trenches, you can't do that kind of stuff.
Well, you can't do trenches.
Yeah, I think you can't do trench warfare anymore.
Trenches are kind of sick though.
Yeah, but it just makes it so you get no ground and just some people die.
So they'd rather have people die and that's
This
stupid.
tangent that we just went off of the beach whale to trench warfare. What
That's
a
great.
what a line.
Yeah, saw the whale, made our way to the tree of life, or the never dying tree.
Yeah.
And we saw it, and I don't know. It's a tree that's floating.
Between
refuses to
between
die.
two cliffs, it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, it was mid. It was
Took a picture with my phone. I was like, okay.
Wait, we
saw
that
this.
was literally it. We just take out our phones, picture. Okay,
Let's
we're
go.
good to go. We just spent so long looking for this tree.
Just to do that.
Yeah.
So we go and make our way down to. Okay. Yeah, so we made our way to Ocean Shores, and we'll continue this
in
next
part
episode.
2 because we're only like halfway through.
Yeah. The end gets crazy, and then I want to die at the end. And
Oh,
then,
the end is the biggest end you could ever think of.
I don't know if I'd say it's the biggest. It's just. It was a fight for our lives, I feel like.
We were fighting.
Yeah.
So we'll leave you on that cliff note. Or cliffhanger.
Cliff notes. We'll
Cliff
give you a
notes.
Cliff notes version of the rest of this. We all die.
Hey, so if you're listening to this, not on YouTube, you can go and watch us on YouTube to see the photos and videos we have.
Yeah.
In case for reference.
And then you can just see us sitting here talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very convincing, I'm great.
If you liked that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
All right. Yeah. We'll see you guys